Hello traders, this is Joanne with Succeed in Forex. Welcome to our Forex news broadcast for Thursday, May the 8th, 2008. Headlines out of Switzerland this morning read, dollar rose with better than expected data ahead of Bank of England and ECB rate decisions today. The dollar rose on Wednesday as a surprise advance in U.S. productivity added to gains after a Federal Reserve official said the central bank must stand ready to raise interest rates to combat inflation. The dollar also got a boost from data showing higher than expected productivity gains in the first quarter and a lower than expected rise in unit labor cost, which reassured investors that inflation, while rising, is not yet spiraling out of control. Some analysts, however, said that investors may be getting too optimistic about the dollar's outlook, adding the still struggling U.S. economy will keep the Feds from raising rates this year. The Fed cut its benchmark rate to 2% last week, but hinted it was ready to pause an easing campaign that began in September when rates stood at 5.25%. A sharp decline in the Eurozone retail sales also weighed on the euro and suggested that European Central Bank may have to cut its own benchmark interest rates before the year is out. The euro dollar dropped to a session low of 153.33 before ending at 153.44. The dollar yen retraced to 104.91 after earlier climbing as high as 105.59. The dollar Swissy rose to 105.82. The pound dollar dropped to 195.08 and hit an 11-week low at 195.03 after weak consumer sentiment and employment data kept investors focused on a slower UK growth. Economists expect the Bank of England to hold interest rates steady at 5% when it meets today. Inflation has been a top concern in the 15-country Eurozone, and markets widely expect the ECB to keep rates at 4% when it meets. But analysts say the euro could falter if ECB President Jean-Claude Trichet acknowledges increased downside risk to growth in the post-meeting news conference. A run of poor economic data has pressured the euro in recent weeks after it hit a record high of 160.19. In the Asian session, the dollar continued to surge higher. The dollar continued its strong rally against the G10 in the Asian session, with the exception of the yen, as a risk aversion supported the dollar. Slight cracks in the system seem to be causing concern, with risk reduction being the dominant feature overnight. First is the high crude prices, which will eventually put pressure on global growth, and second was the new SEC plan to increase the disclosure requirements for investment firms. The euro-dollar slid with no resistance to 152.86 as the markets positioned themselves for the ECB announcement and the expectations that the emphasis will be on the slowing growth pace. Asian stocks traded lower this morning as higher oil prices alarmed investors about the impact upon consumers and the overall economy, though resource stocks benefited. The bad performance of financials and power generators dragged Tokyo down. Oil prices marked yet another record high after shaking off an earlier inventory-induced pullback to surge higher in the afternoon trading. The June 08 contract was up $1.69 to 123.53. Oil futures were steady at over 123 a barrel, pulling back from a record high as the dollar rose to a two-month high against the euro, to offset news of falling U.S. diesel stockpiles. London Brent crude was up 5 cents at 122.37 a barrel. Gold closed lower as the dollar gained versus the major rivals. The most active June 8th contract was down $6.50 to $871.20. The July 08 silver contract was at $16.69 an ounce. In New Zealand, employment data printed significantly worse than the market had anticipated. Employment declined quarter to quarter at a minus 1.3 versus a minus 0.1% that was anticipated. the largest decline in 19 years, which triggered New Zealand dollar crash from 78.20 to 77.10. With data on the soft side these days, the RBNZ will be under pressure to address the slowing growth and could start a signal of a cut as early as the third quarter 2008. This potential rate-cutting cycle will keep the Kiwi upside limited. In contrast, the Australian jobless report beat all expectations as employment rose by over 25,000, and this saw the Aussie rise to 94.30 after it had fallen to 93.50 earlier in the session on stronger U.S. currency. The focus of the European trading day will clearly be the BOE and ECB rate decisions. Both are widely expected to hold rates steady at 5% and 4% respectively. In the UK, inflation will trump growth at this MPC meeting. Recent disagreement has amplified between members on near-term inflation risk versus those members who believe monetary policy should focus on weakening growth prospects. Interestingly, while only a very slim number of economists expect a cut from the BOE today, a wide majority are expecting a cut in June. So the obvious question is, why not just cut today? The simple answer is that by acting this way, the BOE is signaling the market that she is still seriously concerned about inflation. The ECB will meet today to set interest rate policy. It is unlikely that they will lower the rates from 4% where they currently stand, as inflation is still their main concern, but with continuing indication that the Eurozone economy is seeing slower growth, it is not a distant hope that the rates could be reduced in June. Added to the mix is an article in the Financial Times saying that both the United States and Europe want to see the dollar strengthen against the euro. ECB President Trichet's press conference will be monitored closely after the rate announcement for any future rate-cutting clues. We believe it is unlikely that Trichet will alter his hawkish tone in spite of the fact that inflation fell to 3.3% from 3.6%. These levels are still well above the ECB's comfort zone. That concludes our news for today. Thank you for viewing. We hope this is beneficial to your trading. Before we sign off, we would like to invite you to visit our website at www.succeedinforex.com. There you'll find information about our Traders Training Center, where our motto is Traders Helping Traders Succeed in Forex. You'll also find a link to our Yahoo forum, which is also called Succeed in Forex. We hope you'll visit us there soon. We hope you'll be able to join us for our next Forex news broadcast. Until then, have a great trading day and happy pipping.